One of the things that happens when you're closing properties, when you're helping buyers and sellers sell and buy properties, is issues on final walkthroughs. Nobody ever talks about this. What do? You walk into a property, there's a slew of issues that could occur. We're going to talk about that today with Melissa. Melissa, welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me. Glad to be back. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And this kind of came up organically, right? I was supposed to hop on, get on the show, and I was delayed because of a walkthrough issue. And it was like, wow, how come we've never talked about this? Because these happen all the time.
Mm-hmm. What was the issue?
So in this particular situation, it was no heat at the property, right? So it's getting cold, as we know. We're in December. At the time of the inspection, the system had a poof of some sort of soot. That is never what you want for your heating system. No. Sellers had it serviced because they were told it was very serviceable, nothing that required, major repairs or replacement. Seller said that happened. Buyer went to the final walkthrough. Heat wasn't on. Property was very cold. The seller does not live there anymore. So now we're in a situation where what is going to happen? Does the heat work or doesn't the heat work? And, right in that moment, the buyers have to make a determination of what do you do? And can we reach the sellers? Because with bifurcated closing since COVID, it's not like we're all sitting around the table to have this conversation, right? So we need to figure out, what do we do? I'm already at a place where I'm starting to think immediacy, whether or not this system's going to need replacement. I'm told, yes, it is an older system, so that seems like a legitimate concern. Whether or not there could be pipes burst because there's been some sustained cold temperatures. But as their counsel, these are ideas that I have to be able to plant the seed of doubt for so that they can make informed decisions. And Emilio, they asked me, well, tell us what to do. Give us advice. And I think that that's a place where people often get confused. My job as your attorney is not to give you advice. In fact, my code of ethics obligates me to just give you guidance, suggestions, opportunities so that you can make an informed decision about what you want to do, because this is ultimately a client choice. I had 3 options that I outlined for the clients. The first one is we proceed with closing and hold a very substantial escrow, assuming the seller will approve. 15, 20,000 was the number that I came up with. The other alternative was I suggested that we close and hold the recording because we have it on good information that one of the oil companies is going to come out later today or, the day of the closing. And in that situation, they very well may have the heat restored, but at that time, we probably won't be able to record because, as you know, all good stories happen on closings. Those days are always Fridays. So now we've got to straddle a weekend, which does lend itself to some questions about possession. Can they go in and do whatever repairs they wanted to do? Maybe a conversation for another broadcast. And then the third option I outlined was delay the closing. Let's just hold off on closing altogether. This is not your problem. This is the seller's problem. If you purchase this in an as-is transaction, which is what real estate is, this becomes your problem. So that is my, kind of, you pick. I know what I would do if it were my choice, but again, I'm not able to tell the client what to do. This is ultimately about what does the client want to do for their circumstances.
Here's what I would tell the client to do. Escrow.
10 to 15
grand. I think 20 is even better because of the potential, frozen. But if we were both on the 15, you said 15, 20, 10 to 15. Yeah. I think that in that situation, I would definitely tell my clients, let's hold escrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, if it were my property, I would probably delay the closing because unless I'm willing to absorb the cost of a replacement heating system, I don't want to take on that responsibility, right? Remember that at the time of the purchase and sales agreement signing, at the time of the walkthrough, the property can't have any changes to the condition. This is why it's not a one size fits all. And this is why that I will not make a recommendation. I never shared with the client that would be what I would do because I can't tell you how often people ask me, well, you can't tell me what to do, but what would you do if it were you? That's the same question. I don't want to color your judgment by giving you my personal opinions. My personal opinions have no bearing or impact. If it's something of a legal nature, I can guide you towards it. And I have. I've made you aware of legal responsibilities of having to replace the system, costs associated with pipes bursting, and the fact that you may not be able to go back after the seller, which is the case. So I've done my job. Now you have to decide as the consumer, what do you want to do?